What's up, interwebs? It is me, Topher Crost, here to talk to you about some big Yu-Gi-Oh! News that's going to affect the metagame. I just want to stress, before I start this, that I am on 2 hours of sleep. I am exhausted. I've been up a few nights, so I'll probably be stuttering a little bit, and I'm sorry. I'll try to edit it the best I can. That being said, I did not want to wait to talk about this news since it is brand new. Something else that I wanted to stress is that I didn't find this on my own. I had a friend send it to me, and I wanted to give the website that I'm pulling these images from credit for finding this and pulling it from VJump and translating it and stuff like that. The site is called YugiOhOrganization.com, and I will leave a link in the exact link that I'm pulling all this information from in my description below. With that being said, let's check out the new field. All right, so this is the new field, or at least the best recreation. This is my recreation of the new field. I spent a little time on it, making it so you guys can get a good visual of what the new field looks like. Now, you'll immediately notice that this is completely different from the field that we play now. The entire point of this update seems to be to slow the game down a little bit, which is good. It needs the slowdown due to the fact that all Yu-Gi-Oh! Is right now is how fast can I pop out monsters. What archetype effects can I use that support other archetype effects, and just send out as many monsters as I can and just kill you in the first turn. And I think Konami realized once they, came out with pendulum summoning, which was ridiculous, that they needed to change it a little bit. So here is the new field, and there's going to be some new rules with it. To start off, I want to point out the extra monster card zones. You'll immediately notice these things in the middle, and the main monster card zones. I'm going to talk about them in unison. Obviously, let me go back real quick. You have your field spell zone, your extra deck, your deck zone, and your graveyard. Let me just cover those real quick because those are exactly the same. Now, back to what I was saying, you have these two different monster card zones, and you might be a little confused on how it works. Well, the first thing you need to know is the main monster card zone is only for your non-extra deck monsters. Monsters that are pulled from your deck and or graveyard go into the main monster zone. Your extra deck monster now go into this monster card zone, these two zones right here. The main monster card zone works pretty much as it always has, except it doesn't support extra deck monsters now. And for sake of not repeating myself again, I'm going to, show you. So you got Dark Magician here. I'm going to pull him out because he is my favorite monster. And he's one of the monsters you draw from your deck, so he gets to go right here in this zone. Then you have, say I used Eye of Timaeus, and I summon Dark Paladin. So now I have a choice to make. I'm going to put Dark Paladin right now. He's not on the field quite yet. Send Dark Magician to my graveyard. So you have a choice. At the beginning of the game, these extra monster card zones are not technically either player's monster card zone. The thing about this new format is that it relies heavily on where you play things on the board. It matters. So every move you make, you're going to have to pay attention to where you play your cards on the board. Now, getting back to what I was saying, neither of these little zones are for either player until one of the players puts their monster in the zone. I'm going to select, for this example, the right monster card zone. Now that zone belongs to the other player. And as you can see, you can have one extra deck monster out at a time. This is really going to slow the game down, and I think it's going to make decks that are not so relevant more relevant. The last thing I want to talk about with this new field is the spell and trap card zone, which has changed a little bit. You probably noticed that there isn't pendulum zones up here anymore, or in between our little monster and spell trap zone. And there, these little red and blue arrows that I made, those are our new pendulum zones. Now, let me explain. You still have your 5 spell and trap zones, but once you put a pendulum monster into these zones, they turn into pendulum summon zones, I guess is how you say it, pendulum zones. So now they're pendulum zones, but I've got my pendulums. This actually limits pendulums a lot because you can only have 3 spell or traps now that you're using pendulums. Making special summoning just, you're basically going to be relying on a lot of monsters. I'm sure people are going to find a way around that, but I just wanted to show you that. All right, now that I've told you a little bit about the field, you can obviously see how this is going to slow down Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're like, well, this sucks. I can't play any of my new monsters or any of my extra deck monsters. I can only play one. That's kind of stupid. Well, there's a new type of monster that just came out, and I'm going to pull over the picture, called a Link Summon monster, for lack of a better term. It is the new special summon from your extra deck type of monster. The example they use apparently is called Decode Talker. He's a dark cyber type link effect monster. He has Link 3. Link 3 is this thing right there. You'll notice that it doesn't have defense points. It only has attack points. These monsters can never be put into defense, ever. They can't be set, they can't be flipped. They're always face up on the field in attack position. So, cards like Book of Moon do not work on this monster. It says it has a couple effects. I'll just read them off to you really quick since this is going to be our example monster. This card gains 500 attack for each monster linked to it. I'll explain what that means in a minute. When an opponent's card effect that targets a card you control is activated, you contribute one of your monsters linked to this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Now we need to look at the link markers right here. This is the next thing I'm going to explain to you. So the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is how to summon this monster to the field, these link monsters. Well, it's a lot like XYZ summoning, except a little different. It said in this monster, you have to tribute effect monsters. Now, like I said, and this is my decode talker right here. As you can see, my crude copy that I made because they don't have an official, or I couldn't find a good artwork for this. But I got my 3 Karibos on the field. Now, in order to summon this, you need, it says you need to use effect monsters. And you're like, well, how do I know how many effect monsters I need to use? Well, it says it right there. The link number is the effect number of monsters that you have to use. For in this specific instance, it has to be effect monsters. So I got my 3 Karibos on the field, and I want to summon. And I want to summon him, so I'll put it in my extra deck real quick. So in order to summon it, you have to send these guys to the graveyard. Go ahead and put my Karibos in the graveyard, and then you just kind of special summon him straight from your extra deck. So he has 2,500 attack. Got a 2,500 attack monster out with a good effect and Link 3. So now you're probably wondering about the other effect and what the point of these Link monsters are. Well, basically the point of the Link monsters is to get more extra deck zones, essentially. So now that he's out on the field, you can you see how he has the 3 red arrows, and they're each pointing to different monster card zones. Like I said, where you play the cards on the mats actually matter. And you can either choose to play them in this one or this one, as long as your opponent doesn't have one. But I'm going to use the right one for the example. So now that you have him on the field, like I said, the ones that he is pointing to are now extra deck monster card zones. So now you can use them to summon your monsters from the extra deck. For instance, I could summon my Dark Paladin here, my Ebon High Magician here. Something else that it states on the website is that you can also chain links, like for instance, I would play a link monster here, and now I have a total of 4 usable extra deck monster card zones, because now I have 1, 2, 3, and this arrow pointing to 4. So now I have chain here, and then there, chain here, and then there, so I got those 3, and then this one chained to here. So now I have 4, which is really, that's how you're going to get all your extra deck monsters out. It's going to take a couple extra steps, which is cool. The monsters that are to the... I will use these 2 as my example. I'll just put him here for the moment. The monsters that are linked to this card are technically this monster and this monster. So to use its effect, which was, if I remember correctly, when an opponent's card effect that targets a card you control is activated, you contribute one of your monsters linked to this card. Negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. So, I mean, there you go. You can negate the activation. I'll tribute my Dark Paladin, put him in the graveyard. So that's what that effect was. And the monsters that are linked to him are this one, and this one. What I find interesting, now it does say your monsters linked to this card, so you can only use your monsters. But what I find interesting is the red arrow up top, meaning when you play this card, now your opponent, now you got 2 extra monsters inside of this, but your opponent got 1. So that's something you need to notice. Your opponent can summon his extra monsters right here now, instead of just using this. So you gave your opponent 1 monster card zone. So that's something you need to notice. And this is on the card. It has arrows all around it. All of them are going to have arrows in different places. And this one has the arrow right here, which, goes up. So you have to watch out for that, and it's going to put a lot more strategy in the game. Okay, so a few more things I want to address before I go. This was just, like I said, a quick tutorial of the rules, the new rules. And I hope I gave you guys a good explanation. But something I want to, that people are going to ask, some of the rules, is, for instance, what if you have, let's say, I don't know, Dark Paladin, and you could Monster Reborn him in the graveyard and you monster reborn him. Well, technically, he didn't come from your extra deck since he was in the graveyard. So you can summon him in the main monster card zone. Which, when you think about it, which is, really cool, but when you think about it, that means pendulums are also getting another crutch or another nerf. Because if I remember, when you destroy a pendulum monster on the field and somebody has 2 pendulum monsters on the other parts of the field, he goes to the extra deck. Meaning that to bring that pendulum monster back, you can't just bring them all back again. You're going to have to bring that pendulum monster back into your extra monster card zone. Which means you're only going to be able to do 1 pendulum a turn unless you have link monsters out, which is really good, and it nerfs pendulums. A few final thoughts right here. Let me go through real quick, make sure I covered everything. Oh, I think that's it. One thing I honestly forgot to mention. Let me go back to the new link monsters. Is that you could also tribute another link monster to get some of the, and it's not tribute, it's a special summon. I keep saying tribute, but it is a special summon. You do not tribute, you technically just send them to the graveyard. But you see how I have the link 2 on this one, link 3 on this one? You can tribute these link monsters, the lesser link monsters, towards that one with the number, meaning that if I tributed this link monster right here and Karibo, that would equal 3 links because I have 2 right here and Karibo equals the 3rd link, and I could use those 2 to get out this monster. So if I had them for some reason, I don't know, right here and right here, let's just say link 2, I tribute them both, not tribute, but I send them both to the graveyard, and now I have link 3. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. It's another way of getting the link monster out. If you have a link 5 monster out that only lets you use effect monsters to summon it, well, you can use a level 3 link monster with an effect plus 2 other effect monsters to get that level 5 link monster out. Hopefully I made that a little clearer. All right, guys, so I want to just put in my final thoughts for this new field and stuff, and I just want to say that I am completely in favor to these changes. It makes it a little harder for you just to pump out monsters. It's going to put a lot more strategy in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's going to make, you think a lot harder about the plays you make. You're not going to be able to just go online and make a deck profile and it's just going to automatically work for you. You're going to have to kind of build your own deck and get a feel for the game again. It's going to put players that like to play lesser known archetypes that haven't been relevant in a while, for instance, Bujin's, back on the playing field. I don't know if Bujin's itself is going to be amazing, but it's going to be at least relevant again. So I'm completely in favor of this new ruling system. In fact, I can't wait for it to come out with the new link monsters and stuff. I'm going to have to revise my Dark Magician deck. But I'm really excited about these changes. Like I said, I hope I explained it good enough to you guys. If you don't like it, if I get, some dislikes because I'm not explaining it well enough, I will go ahead and rest and then do another video on it tomorrow or the next day. That all being said, I do not see on this website any release date for this new rulings yet, but it will be coming fairly soon, I believe. And I wanted to say one more thing. For those of you who have watched my deck profile video and are wondering why I haven't put out another deck profile video, I'm actually working on 2 other decks right now, but I won't put up a deck profile video until I have all the cards physically and they're all tested to the point where I think they're playable and I like them. So I'm very picky about the way I do deck profiles. In fact, the only reason you got a Dark Magician deck profile so quick on my channel is because I had worked on that deck previously for 4 months. That's why, and I started the YouTube channel after I started working on the Dark Magician deck. That's the only reason you got one of those so quickly, and I'm still editing it. And in fact, when this new format comes out, I'm going to edit it again, and I hope you're going to edit it again. But please, in the comments, please tell me what you think about this. I would love to have a discussion with you guys about this new format, and if you could think of ways to break it, and if you think of ways it's broken, and if you think of ways that it is stupid, let me know. I would love to hear all of this, and maybe I'll do another review video of this new format in the future. But anyway, that's all for me tonight, guys. Thank you for watching. It's Topher Crost.